start streaming, start recording. Time is, we'll say 7:55 because there were some technical issues I was dealing with before I started. Time is 7:55 a.m. Day is January 3rd, 2022. Woo! Woo! Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, took I took like a 2 week break, like last month, because of my emotional breakdown live on camera. Well, it wasn't like a shattering emotional breakdown. I was just ranting and fucking pissing and moaning about my current situation. And you know, I got a right to be upset, but those 2 weeks ago, I was just really upset. Right now, I'm looking for my folder. I should have opened this up first thing. Coyote Stories. Is my timesheet that I haven't bothered to fill in yet because again that emotional breakdown. And let me go ahead and find the storyboards. That's what I wanted to say. The storyboards. Where are the storyboards? For some, I'm always having a hard time finding the storyboards. Ugh. Where? It's not that difficult. It's somewhere. Oh, there it is. Okay. There we go. There we go. Check the users in chat. Um, my my moderator is not here yet. I think she's asleep still. I sent her a message, but she's taking a little cat nap. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And I think I was in the process of detailing the storyboards. Let me minimize this window. How do I do this? Oh, there we go. Sweet. Yeah, that was the animation window down here that was opened up because I was working on this here. Now, this isn't like an animation, but it's like a series of stills that I'm using for a new format I'm going to be working in YouTube. It's going to be more of along the lines of a story time format, and I might as well start doing some story times, but I don't know where to start as far as stories go. Like maybe something from my childhood, my formative years, my late teens, college. Huh. I'm thinking I want to start somewhere in my childhood, just like something light and funny. Well, we'll see. But I'm still in the process of like detailing these images. Like I already put up a video using these scrappy, rough images, but as time goes on, I'm going to be cleaning them up, adding more poses, this and that, expressions. You get the idea. Anyway, back to this. Back to this. I like this cartoony expression he has here. Oops. Oh, let me go ahead and get some creepy stories going. Yay!
If you like the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. For
Let's
more
turn it up
videos
a bit.
like this, Serious, what is the creepiest slash strangest slash scariest experience you ever had in your life? I moved into my current home 3 years ago. We originally planned to not have a TV in the bedroom and have a cool hangout spot in the main living room, and the kids had a separate bed. This worked out well for maybe the first 6 months to a year. I started to not like watching TV at night in the living room. There was something wrong with the lighting in there, and it just bothered me. It felt like the normal shadows in there were constantly moving. After a few weeks of just being quiet about that and the weird bumps and noises, I finally said something to myself. He seemed relieved that I could see it too. It always looked like someone was walking back and forth behind us when we were on the couch, and sometimes we'd see the silhouette of something reflected on the TV. Now we avoid the living room at night, but have noticed a weird dark shadow in the shape of a tall person in our bedroom doorway. It never fully comes into the room, but it really creeps us out. Our pets react to it too. About a month and a half ago, I decided to do laundry late at night. It's about 1 a.m. My parents decided we needed to move to a smaller town last year, and the property they got has a small in-law suite on it from the 70s. Not fancy but comfortable, and I like it. So I live in it. I have to do laundry in the main house. I go to get the laundry as it had finished drying 10 to 15 minutes before I went to get it. I leave the in-law suite and immediately hear birds chirping and what sounded like people laughing. It's 1 a.m. and all of my neighbors work early. And it was during the week. So I was confused but still went to get my clothes. I came out of the house and the bird was still going crazy. Then a female voice was clearly talking in my direction. Now the bird that was chirping wasn't one of the nocturnal birds in my area. And
Still,
it was definitely way too late anyway for this bird to
still
still be up
cold enough
making
to
noise.
see my breath in
The
here. I got
woman's
the heater
voice seemed to
going,
get
but
louder, and I could see a shadow in the corner
I
of
got
one
it
eye.
on low.
The shadow was on the edge of a dark
Don't want
area
to
where
waste my
street lamps
fuel.
couldn't be. So I just kept my eyes focused on my front door and continued towards, but with a bit more pep in my step. I'm positive that night I ran into a cryptid. Or more accurately put, watched by a cryptid. Since then I've had the hair on the back of neck stand straight up when outside later at night like I was being watched and could sense it. And my girlfriend has seen people on top of our neighbors' roofs. Needless to say, I think there's a Native American folklore cryptid stalking either me or someone near me. Worked at our college's info desk for AV stuff, and there was always another info desk person there with us. Around 9:50 p.m. a girl comes up and says that she was leaving the planetarium about 750 feet down the hallway and around a corner from my desk, and heard a weird noise down a hallway and went to take a look. As she went partway down the hallway, the lights started to flicker, and then she noticed what looked like blood drops on the floor leading down the hallway and peaced out. We figured it was just a spilled drink and grabbed our radio to go look and radio the janitorial crew. We
Damn it.
get there and the
My
entire
tablet
wing is dimly lit
just
and the
blinking out.
hallway lights
There
are
we go.
about 15% as bright as they should be and flickering like when someone is about to get murdered in a horror film.
Shit. My
The
tablet is
door at the end
flickering.
was partially open and we did hear what sounded like metal hitting against something coming from
There
it.
we are.
We saw drops and it was more like a small trail of it. It was definitely red but didn't have the color of blood. It was more orange colored than a deep red. After a louder noise right as we turned our phone's flashlights on to investigate, we also pieced the hell out of there and radio campus police. They took a brief statement and we locked up the info desk for the night and left. Never did find out what it was. A few years ago, I was walking my friend home from the pub. She lived further away than me, but she was significantly drunker and I didn't want her to walk by herself in the dark. A guy we both knew was at the pub too, and we'd known him for ages, been to school together, etc. But we definitely weren't close. He was one of those really weird kids, but not in a lovable, quirky goofball kind of way, if that makes sense. Like scary weird. Anyway, he tagged along with us for the walk home, and it was fine because we'd been having a laugh with him all night and he genuinely seemed very different to how he had been in school. However, once we'd reached my friend's house and dropped her off, his tone changed. He started telling me about how if his future girlfriend ever cheated on him, he would kill her, and I can't explain exactly how. But from his tone and demeanor and everything, I didn't doubt that for a second. He then proceeded to
Fucking
tell me that if he
creepy.
wanted to, he could easily kill
Listening
me
to the
right now
story right
and
now.
dispose of the body in a way that no one would ever find it. All this was being said whilst we were walking down a mile-long pitch-black country road in the middle of nowhere. No streetlights, no houses near the road, literally no one else around. Got lost on a 14-mile hike because of a faded sign and poorly marked branching trails. It wasn't a high-traffic hiking trail since it was mid-July and hit temperatures of 105 F at high noon. We left early in the morning to avoid the afternoon heat, but getting lost put us 4 miles off track. So once we got back to the right trail, it was perilously close to noon on a moderately difficult return trail. My friend and I had enough water for the normal trail length, but nowhere near for the extra time spent out in the extreme heat. Heat exhaustion swiftly set in and our water went quickly. We would move from shaded spot to shaded spot when we could, but there was little tree cover for the last 7 miles. Eventually, it got so bad I collapsed in a semi-fetid pool of standing water to cool off as best as I could. I remember sitting there, nauseous, shaking, and barely able to stand, thinking we were going to die out there because we read the wrong trail sign and got off course. Thankfully, a group came down the trail, saw us, and immediately offered water and assistance to get us the last couple miles out and back to our vehicle. What was supposed to be a 4-hour hike turned into 10. I lost 13 pounds, my feet were covered in blisters and sores, and I was
What?
so weak I couldn't get out of bed for days. So
Lost
yeah,
13
that was
pounds on
terrifying.
an unexpected
My
10
cousin's
mile
mom had a
hike.
twin who died in her early
Get the
20s.
fuck out of here,
She passed
man.
away in a trailer
What are you
right
like
behind the
holding
house
like
they had
fucking
grown up in.
5 pounds of shit?
When I was 15, I went to visit my cousins for a week
Jeez.
at that house. It was my first time going there as it was a couple hours away, and my uncle and their mom had split when we were little, and I'd only ever gone to his house before. When it was time for bed, my two cousins, my aunt, and I all piled into my aunt's bed. I didn't question why we weren't sleeping in one of my cousins' rooms. I figured maybe it was cause they just got home from their dads and had missed their mom. The next evening, we decided to play hide and seek. I was I walked down the hallway towards my younger cousin's room. Her door was ajar and her room was dark. I heard whispering. There were some lumps on the bed that I knew from seeing earlier in the daylight as stuffed animals, but I thought maybe my cousins were hiding among them. I got closer and the whispering stopped. I was suddenly terrified and couldn't bring myself to enter her room. I yelled out, "I can hear you guys whispering." From down the hall, in the living room, I heard my cousins go, "What?" They weren't in the younger cousin's room. I turned and booked it to the living room. One had been hiding behind the TV and the other had been hiding behind the couch. Not close enough to whisper to each other. And I wouldn't have heard them anyway, as far down the hallway as I had been. My cousins told me that my younger cousin's room had been their mom's twin's room when she was a kid. They said the room creeped them out, and that's why they slept in their mom's room at the other end of the house. I stayed the hell away from that room the rest of the visit. But they only had one bathroom in the house, in the middle of the hallway. So if I had to pee in the middle of the night, I'd have to walk down the pitch black hallway using my phone screen as a flashlight, terrified the whole way. Scary slash strange. When I was around 10 or 11, we lived in this old pier and beam house originally built in the 40s. I loved that house. It had a large detached garage and a huge backyard. But the problem was I would have these horrendous nightmares. That was until I taught myself how to lucid dream. Before anyone says anything about how did a 10-year-old learn how to lucid dream, it wasn't on purpose. I just realized I was in a dream and night by night, slowly started figuring out how to mess around in it. After I figured out how to control my dreams, the nightmares still came, but I would change the dream, like scare off the T-Rex chasing me, etc. I kept changing my dreams night after night. But then, I started seeing things in the house,
He's
while
a
I was
dream
awake.
warrior.
The first was a low glowing figure. The second was a white hand that thrust out at me as I was walking to the hallway and stopped me from going in my room. But the third was two beings in the corners of my ceiling. They were there for a while. One light and one dark. They seemed like they were having a conversation with each other in whispers that I either couldn't hear or understand. As a grown adult now, I always just thought I had a ridiculous imagination, which I did, but the thing is, I still remember those experiences, in vivid detail, far beyond what an imagination should be able to produce. I also don't dream anymore, and if I do, I don't remember them. I stopped dreaming after we left that house. I found
Damn.
out about 10 years ago that the detached garage used to be a church. My mom wouldn't tell me the type of church, but I had that feeling that this wasn't your run-of-the-mill Southern Baptist church. To this day, I still wonder if it was just my imagination or if I saw something no one else could. I swear to God, on my life this happened to me. The first memory I have ever is fucked up. I was still in a crib. I can't remember how old I was, but I know I was alone because my brother was still newborn, so I was 2 or 3 years old. I guess I woke up from sleeping and it was dark in the room. My crib was on the back end of the room. The hallway light was on. Then a creature slowly walked into the doorway. I couldn't see it very well at first because the light was behind it. Its form reminded me of a short humanoid with a wide head, more like a hammerhead. It creeped up silently, no sounds, no menace at all. It came into view for me and had inhumanly large eyes, yet still they had the whites and brown iris, and a wide mouth. It was gray and kind of sickly looking. After that, the last thing I remember is screaming harder than I ever have or ever will. It just turned its head slightly, kind of like a dog that's listening to what you're saying. The memory fades after that point. I still have dreams about it. Sometimes it makes me freak out and cry even as a grown-ass man. It was more real than any of my other memories. When I tell this story, no one believes me. I guess it could have been my wild, childhood imagination. It's as real as every other
Oh,
childhood memory I've had, though.
what's up, Iso?
Sometimes when my mind is quiet, I still think about it.
Iso's in the chat. Let's see how many users are in chat right now. Oh, that's a nice little group of nice little group of lurkers. That's cool. Just a few people. He just says, "Been a while." Yeah. Beginning of the stream, I was explaining that my moderator, Melody, she told me to take maybe like a 2 week break because the last stream I did, I had a slight emotional breakdown, just like really frustrated about my current situation and all the bullshit I have to put up with. Not only with like community service, digging into the time that I could be making actual money through commissions, but like the expectancy of constantly having to like look for a job, trying to find a job, no one's fucking hiring me. Unable to like venture out too far to look for a job because we only have one like vehicle for like family use and emergency use, and I don't want to take it out too far in case my mom needs like some sort of medical emergency. That way, like anyone who's home can pack her up and like drive her to the clinic or the nearest hospital. So like I don't have my own vehicle to like, go venture out and try to find a job in the next city over, and then just going through the process of going back to school, going to take some certificate learning classes to learn computer um, like web design and computer technologies, so I can try to like find some sort of like remote at home gig. And all the while, like I'm throwing my application to like animation studios and here and there, and I'm not getting any calls back or anything. So just all of that just kind of like got all built up, and like I had a slight emotional breakdown, just like being like friggin' frustrated. It wasn't like a major one, like me bawling my eyes out or anything. Just kind of like raising my voice in frustration at the at everything that I have to go through in order to like make a living. And like making a living for myself isn't that difficult, but when I have to do it amongst like trying to reach the expectations of the court, and all the while like handling my um, responsibilities and such for like the family, just like helping in and around the house and like helping with my mom if she needs anything, because like even though she's doing better, she still needs constant supervision, because there have been times where she's fallen down like out of her wheelchair and unable to get back up, and I'm the only one around that can pick her back up and put her back in her wheelchair. So it's this constant thing of like just wanting to be here for family, and family wanting me to just be here for my mom, but then the court's expectancies to just like have me go out and venture into like try to get a job or something. But it's just a huge juggling act, and it's really difficult, and I fucking hate it. And things wouldn't be as difficult if not for like all the courts like high expectations. They can go fucking suck a dick. Because in their bid to like, I guess, assist me reintegrate into society, it's more of a hindrance than it is actually helping me, and it just fucking blows. Anyway, that's why I haven't been streaming for 2 weeks. Melody told me to take these 2 weeks off, and but like for the holiday breaks, and it was really good. And I even took some time to like start working on like a new demo reel, because I think that's part of the problem as to why I'm not getting any callbacks from some of these studios, because my demo reel is just so outdated and mostly deals with motion graphics, whereas like I'm trying to apply for like a 2D animation position, and there is like little to no 2D animation in my demo reel. Like sure, there's some at the end, but that's all the way at the end. Like with a demo reel, the purpose is to like make it as short and flashy as possible. So right out the gate, you gotta like have like a good quality animation, and if all possible, like have it complete. And I'm talking about like line work, colors, backgrounds. I can't I can't lift background, and if all possible, like a lip sync animation, just to like showcase all the qualities that animation studios are looking for. They're looking for like very well adept animators who can handle like all those tasks. So what, like whether or not they want to like hire you for like maybe a storyboarding gig, you know, like maybe your layout was really good, maybe the background you did was really nice, and they can see that like okay, this guy might be good for like background layout, but also like character posing and modeling and design for like the character you animate in the scene. Maybe they'll hire you for that, and if your animation is like top tier good enough, like they'll probably hire you as an in betweener at first, and then maybe after time passes they'll give you like a key animator position. So um these last couple of weeks I've been like working on trying to build or like create some animations for a new updated demo reel, and it was really nice, but I got to get back to this community service so the courts don't fucking throw a bitch fit. And I'll be starting school here pretty soon. I think next week my classes start. I gotta look up my class schedule, because I think last I heard I had until the 8th to like hand in like all the documents that I needed, and I've done that already. So I guess the 8th is when classes actually start, and the 8th would be I guess this coming Monday after today. Yeah, it's the Monday after the current one. We're living in the moment right now. So yeah. No, the 10th is on a Monday. The 8th is the Saturday that's coming up. So yeah, they told me like I got to get like some of these basic documents in before the 8th. So I guess classes start on the 10th. Oh man. So throughout the week I'm going to be like looking up information, like getting getting my updated class schedule, because I didn't have my full class schedule. I was missing one class, basic Navajo 101. So seeing as how it's like a Navajo college, they want you to like know Navajo, and I got to start learning my own language. Uh, I'm able to like pick up like bits and pieces of other languages, and I know like several words in my own language, but I it's not like I could like actually talk in Navajo, and like forget about trying to understand what like a elderly Navajo person is trying to say to me when they're like talking really fast. So I guess it'll be good. Melody's gonna help me out with it. But anyway, let's see what you've been saying. Lisa says not sure if I have been getting email notifications for all streams. That and then you said that made me wonder how's the public transport there. It's like little to no public transport. There's like one shuttle bus, and I don't know the schedule for it, but uh, the shuttle bus doesn't really come around here, and like the shuttle bus only takes you to like certain places, and if I'm going to use a shuttle bus to like find a job or like get employment, taking a shuttle bus to and from work would be like fucking hell in a handbasket because yeah, no. fuck, fuck that noise. Issa says, always hear people claim that a car is way more necessary in USA, but not sure if that's true. Yes, it is, especially like living on the reservation. If you're living in the city, like a car isn't really necessary. You can get around in the public transport that they have. The Las Vegas metro system was pretty decent, but once I got a bike, like fucking hell, I was zooming everywhere. It was so fucking sweet. I mean, like living in Las Vegas and like getting around on a bike, just fucking, oh, it was so good. Just like being out in the open air and just biking and getting that decent exercise day in and day out. Like almost no matter what weather, except for like really cold weather, but it didn't really get that cold in Vegas. And yeah, it was really really good. But like in more rural areas, um, a car is somewhat of a necessity because things are just so far and out of the way. Miso says, still wish you had the time to do some silly short animations like Pringus McDingus and others. Who the hell is Pringus McDingus? I know Meat Canyon, like those disturbing animations. I always get a kick out of those. I fucking love those. But you're gonna have to dupe me like a link with for this Pringus McDingus in Discord. So drop me a link. Drop me a link sometime. Let's check the users in chat and see if my moderator is still not here. Check the Discord. I think she's still asleep. Drop her a little gif. Drop her a little Betty Bye gift because she's napping, I'm sure. Where is it? I can still see my breath. Like the heater I got going, it's warming me up pretty good. It's very decent, but still cold enough to see my breath. And I don't want to. There we go. There's the GIF. And I don't want to turn the heater up because I'm trying to save on fuel because it's a propane heater. But it's very nice. It has the capabilities of making things really nice and toasty in here. Oh, that's Pringus McDingus. Okay, okay. I've seen some of these. Yeah, I'll check it out. But yeah, I'm planning to make more animations. Well, not animations, but YouTube videos, but more using like story time format. I'm sure you've seen it. If you haven't seen it already, like well, I posted it like late last night. Well, like late last night for me, or that would be more early this morning. Here it is. These are the rough stills, and yeah, they're still pretty rough, but this is what I used. And I'm gonna go through the process of like completing them, making them more polished, clean, and finished, and still like making more in like YouTube videos like this. Maybe do some story times, but I got to think of a decent story time to just kind of like get things going. So yeah, yeah. Anyway, I got to get back to this thing. Let me rewind this spooky story I was listening to.
Dreaming after we left that house. I'm dreaming.
Where is it?
Did beyond 5 years about it. I still got feeling a one. We walked full silently. Sickly look. Pretty fades as a grown one believes was every.
Okay,
I
here we go.
wouldn't say creepy or strange, but I live in an area with practically no tornadoes ever. A few years ago, I was working for a construction company, mostly roofing, that was owned by my HS football coach, so I had a pretty good in to get the job. We would routinely check the weather because no one wants to shingle when it's really windy or rainy. One day the forecast showed 90 degrees Fahrenheit and no clouds all day with 10 miles per hour wind. hardly humid, either. Around 3 p.m., we noticed some storm clouds rolling in and thought, huh, we weren't supposed to get any rain or a storm today and started packing up. As I was driving home, there was golf ball sized hail hitting the windshield of my pickup. I sped home as I was walking from the garage to the house. I looked west at the clouds and saw a massive tornado about half a mile wide headed straight towards town. My heart was racing and I was freaking out. Jumped down into the basement as quickly as I could and waited. 20 minutes later, after it sounded like a train was right outside my house going 100 miles an hour, I walked upstairs to dead calm wind and a slight rain. The tornado missed the whole town by about a quarter mile. Trees were uprooted around town and one of the trees in my front yard was split in half, the half on the ground blocking the whole street. I've never been in a tornado situation, so this is probably normal for a lot of people in the Midwest, but when I say I was terrified, I truly was. Still don't think I'll ever shake the sound it made. This happened back when I was like a junior in high school. My mom used to water the front garden early in the morning with the dog, and because my room was right next to where the hose connects to the house, I could hear when she turned on the water. Well, it's like the second or third day of the school year, and I hear the water turn on and heard the family dog bark. I wake up to the noise and notice it's still really dark out. I thought it was strange that my mom was watering so early since she usually waits until the sun has at least risen, and I also thought it was strange that the dog had barked because she wasn't known to bark very much. I get up and walk to my window to peek out the blinds to see if my mom was still outside since the water stopped. When I looked outside, I didn't see my mom or the dog, but at the end of our driveway and right next to our mailbox, I see a little girl sitting on the sidewalk with her head down. I was beyond confused. It's like 6 a.m. and no little girl that looks to be under the age of 10 should be outside alone. I decide to get a better look and decide the best way to do that is to go to the living room window. Mind you, this whole time I have not turned on a light and have only pushed the blind down enough to look through. I never turned on a light or actually opened any of the blinds I ended up looking through. I looked through the living room blind and the little girl has lifted her head and is staring right at me. I could tell she was
There
having
she
fun,
is.
but her eyes were just black. They looked like two black holes. She had no eyes at all.
My moderator's here. She's awake now. Oh, just duping her a message on Discord. A cute little message because we're cutesy like that. Hmm. Oh fuck! I gotta message this one dude. He hasn't paid me yet for a commission I did for him earlier. Of course, I haven't sent him the full image yet, but I'm hoping he just doesn't take the. Hoping he just doesn't take the low quality image I gave him and just run. I doubt it because I've worked with this guy before. I'm pretty sure he's good for the money. But I think he was having issues just kind of like getting his money together because of the holidays. But now I'm gonna send him a message. Mm, I don't want to make it too long. Okay. Basically asking him the ETA on that payment for 35 monies. Okay. But yeah, good morning, love. She says, what be to matters? Well, nothing. You know that boxing commission I showed you? Like the guy hasn't paid me yet, and he said he was going to pay me once his credit once he was able to reload his credit card. But since it was the holiday season, like I figured it was just taking him a while because I had finished it like right around New Year's. So I don't know if like the banks that are around him are like operational or like what's the process he uses to reload his credit card. But now that the holidays are done, like I'm hoping he's able to get that get that payment to me. Yes, yes, love. People owe pennies. Melody says, "Whose legs do I have to break?" It hasn't come down to that, love. It's okay. Yeah, we still got time. I just barely sent him a message, so we'll see what he says. Okay, keep that tab open. Uh, check check it again after some time. But for um, FYI, Melody, I started this stream at like 7:55, and it's been about shit, 30, like 30 minutes, 38 minutes so far. We're 38 minutes into the stream. Melody says it's a Joyzy thing. Oh man, I fucking love you. I like how you're able to like type things out with an accent because I can read it right now. Joyzy. Oh, fucking hilarious. Yeah, Melody's my comfort animal. Whenever I'm feeling down, she has the ability to like help ease my suffering, and after a little while, like she's got me laughing again. So yeah. No, it says gotcha on timer, Floof. 1 hour 23 to go. Sweet. Sweet. Okay, let's get these stories back going. Get these stories going again.
I was terrified. I was frozen for a moment just looking at this eyeless girl at the end of the driveway. I finally removed my finger that was holding the blind open and ran to my parents' room. I banged on the door and begged for my mom to come look. She could barely understand what I was saying, but went to look outside. I refused to enter the living room while she checked. She tried to open the front door to look, but I demanded she only look through the blinds. She looked through the blinds. Nothing. There was no little girl outside. I swore up and down that the little girl was there. I asked if my mom had gone out
What
to
are
water
these
the garden that
dogs
morning with the dog.
barking about?
She told me no. Her, my dad, and the dog had been asleep until I came knocking on the door. I was freaking out. My mom played it off like nothing was wrong and went to sleep for 30 more minutes.
Jeez, my windows
I've
are
kind of
fogged
always
up.
seen freaky stuff like this, but my mom never believes me when I tell her.
Oh
This was
shoot,
just
they're
one of the
frosted.
scariest things I've seen. Was in Brazil as a missionary. My companion and I were walking down a long dirt road in a town called
There is
Caleta,
legit frost
located
on
near
my
Florianopolis,
windows.
and
On
it was
the
about midday.
inside.
An older woman in her 60s runs out of her house and begs us to come in the house to see her son. She said he was sick and knew that we were men of God and that we could help him. We followed her confused and were seated in her living room. Her and her husband told us that before we met her son, they needed to tell us something
That's
before we
crazy.
met him. Their son had been in a car accident 3 years prior and had been injured. While he was pretty banged up, his injuries were not life-threatening. He had injured his leg and it had resulted in a limp. His parents thought the limp would absolutely ruin his life, so they began calling representatives from every religion they could think of to heal him. These religions
No, he says typing with accents is easy. Just type phonetically. Yeah, I can't do that though. Let me get rid of this frost so I can actually see out my window. Hey, it's trying to use my, they're like a DVD case. It's not working. I'm going to use my City Market rewards card. Ah, that's much better. Yeah. Scraping off all that frost. Oh, jeez. Okay, I don't need to scrape all that off. As long as I can see what the... Oh, fucking horses. They're just barking at the horses. There's like a wandering trio of horses down at the horse corral. Anyway, I've never had that happen before. Just a layer of frost on the interior side of a window. Guess it just got that cold. Let me turn off this heater. I think it's been on long enough. I gotta conserve fuel, conserve my propane. I sell propane and propane accessories, I tell you what. Okay. What's going on in this story?
Religions included of God and that we could help him. We followed her confused and were seated in her living room. Her and her husband told us that before we met her son, they needed to tell us something before we met him. Their son had been in a car accident 3 years prior and had been injured. While he was pretty...
Are they still barking against horses? Oh yeah, they're moving around. Stupid horses. Stupid dogs. Shut up! Shut up, you stupid mugs! Okay. Oh man, just having that heater off. Things got all chilly again that quick. I don't know if you can see my breath, but it was thicker before. Anyway.
He banged up. His injuries were not life-threatening. He had injured his leg and it had resulted in a limp. His parents thought the limp would absolutely ruin his life, so they began calling representatives from every religion they could think of to heal him. These religions included Catholic, Protestant, Crente, and even the Church of Satan and a local religion called Macumba. We would sometimes see members doing Macumba in houses, and they would dress in...
Oh my god. They're looking for religious healing everywhere. Yeah, we even tried the Church of Satan. What the fuck? Oh, I guess anything and everything, if you believe it'll help. Oh, jeez.
White, dance in circles, and cut the heads off chickens and their clothes would get stained.
Oh, wait. Melody says, oh, wait, use mugs. We going for a little ride, see? All right, use mugs. We're going for a little ride, see? Still barking at dogs. Oh, oh man, it's like all of a sudden I feel like I gotta rub the sleep from my eyes. Mm. There, get in there. This is just doing some time calculations. Calculate away, love. I think I only got about 3 hours of sleep last night.
With chicken blood. Over the last 3 years, James had gone from having a slight limp to not being able to walk at all, and was confined to a wheelchair. Anyways, we didn't promise anything, but agreed to talk to the kid, who I'll call James. James was about 23 years old. When we walked in, I felt something I had never felt before. It was like the entire room has a different pressure to it. There was what I can only describe as a dark, oppressive aura in the room. I wanted to leave, but my companion, who was the senior, sat down and began to speak to me. I was still fairly new and didn't speak Portuguese very well yet, but my companion was fluent and had been out about a year. James told us his name was George and that he didn't want our help. My companion said, "I thought your name was James." James replied, "James is only the name of this body. I'm George." I'm not sure what was said next, but my companion raised his arm to the square and commanded George to leave. The oppressive aura immediately subsided and James began to cry. I say cry, but it was more than that. He was sobbing uncontrollably and looked like he was in pain. He began to yell at my companion, asking him why he sent his only friend away. Then he began to yell that he needed George, and started yelling, "George, please come back. I need you." After a few seconds of yelling, the oppressive feeling and pressure returned even more than it had previously, and James looked straight at my companion and started talking to him in a monotone voice. I heard a couple of names that I recognized as my companion's girlfriend, as well as another family member back home in North America. My companion went white as a sheet and looked at me and said, "We are leaving right now." We got up, left the room, shook off the questions from James' parents as we walked past, and left the house as quickly as we could. After we left, I asked my companion what James had said, and he told me that he had told him about something that had happened with his girlfriend back home before he had come in his mission. Something he hadn't shared with anyone, and there's no way James could possibly know. The whole
Yeah, I thought so. It sounded like these guys were missionaries. Oh, sweet. You can see it on, you can see my breath on camera now. But yeah, back to this missionary story with these missionaries.
experience sent chills down my spine. I never believed in possession before that day, but having lived through that experience, I 100% believe in it now. I've never felt that oppressive feeling since, and I hope I never do. I was cat sitting at an old lady's house back in high school, but before I could drive myself. Easiest job ever, plus got me away from home in the evenings and on weekends. Anyhow, one night I was watching TV on a recliner, with my back to the open sliding glass door, which was on the edge of the backyard and pool. It was probably 9 or 10 p.m. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a tall shadow along the back fence, which had some landscaping lights. What I saw was probably 15 feet behind me. I slowly closed the slider, turned off the TV and all the lights. I kept watching out the living room's window into the backyard as a man-like shadow walked left through the cypress trees along the back fence, all the way into the dark, far left corner. I freaked out, and the phone was right there on the wall, so I called my mom. "No, phone line is dead." I army crawled down the hallway to the computer and used the old school phone dialer program on Windows to try to call my family's line. There was no microphone to talk to them, but it was novel at the time and I had just prank dialed them a few times from there the day before because I thought it was so cool. It wasn't, but anyhow, no dial tone, which confirmed it wasn't just a bad phone on the wall in the other room. So I figured the phone lines were out, which was terrible timing since there's a person sneaking in the backyard and I should probably call my parents, not 911, which is dumb. So I get up my courage, open the front door, quickly lock it behind me, so responsible, and run to the elderly next door neighbors I was told about. Old couple answers the door and invites me in. I ask if I can wait there until my mom presumably gets scared and drives over to get me. I mention that this is all on account of the phone lines being down. The old lady picks up her phone and says, "No, there's a dial tone." So I called my mom from there and got picked up a few minutes later. My mom was scared and I told her only about the phone line not working, just at the house I was sitting. The next day, my mom had the phone company check the line. The wire was fucking cut. To this day, I never told my mom about what I saw along the back fence, and I never even told the lady who employed me that the phone line was cut. But I always wonder what would have happened if I didn't see a shadow out of the corner of my eye. Gives me
Dang.
chills. During a long trip back from vacation in Missouri, I stopped at a gas station to get a monster to stay awake about 11 o'clock at night. Upon arrival, a dude with a white motorcycle was sat at a pump, just looking at his phone. At the time, I didn't think much of it, but when I went inside, I saw that the only person working this rather large gas station was a young woman. I used the restroom, grabbed my drink, and paid. On my way out, I saw that man still at his bike. Something didn't feel right, so I kept an eye on him while fueling. He was still just sat there. I pulled my car up into a parking space and grabbed my revolver 9-shot 22 LR for anyone curious, and sat in my car and watched him. A solid hour passed. During that time, he eventually filled his bike up but still just sat around, adjusting straps of his bag and scrolling on his phone in an endless manner. At about 1140, he went inside and, from what I
Like
saw,
a
just
niche.
spoke to the clerk for about a minute and a half. I left my revolver in the car and went inside fearing an altercation and throwing a gun in the mix. To add, I
Oh.
wasn't 21 at the time, was why I left him. When I went inside, he immediately turned to me and I locked eyes with him, and it was long enough for me to get to know everything I needed. He was afraid when he realized I was there. You could see it all over his face. I studied him for 2 seconds, a time that felt like eternity, but long enough to get a feel and study his face. He reminded me of some of the more cowardly inmates you meet in jail and prison. Those who won't do shit unless they have a gang actively backing them in the moment or think they have a complete upper hand in a situation. After studying him for a couple of
There we
seconds, I
go.
turned and went to the drink hall for another monster. As soon as I started making my way, he immediately left. I asked the clerk if everything was all right, and she replied that it was, just the usual nighttime creeps. I told her I had been around for about 40 minutes and asked how long he'd been here. She said a while and that he'd been acting strange, hanging around and filled his bike twice. I asked if she had anything to protect herself with, and she answered no. I told her that I wasn't local to the area, but that she should call the local sheriff's office and inform them of the character outside. With that, I left, and saw that our dear friend in the story did as well. I waited around another 5 minutes and used the turnaround from the one-way highway to make sure he wasn't hanging around. On my way around, I saw a deputy on their way on the roundabout to the gas station, so I left and continued my ride home. When I passed through town and made it to the other side, I glanced over to the last stop gas station at the edge of the town and saw from my highway the same white coat checking the bags of their bike pump as my highway continued left. About 15 years ago, my now ex-girlfriend and me were young, expecting an unplanned child and desperately searching for a home. Money was tight, so we were on the crappier end of the house market, but we eventually found somewhere decent looking going for next to nothing. It needed work, but it was close to where we both worked. The dentist, the doctors, even the schools were about 10 minutes walk away. During the sale, I learned the reason it was so cheap was the previous owner was found dead in the house. Never bothered to look into the details. Never told my ex either, as I knew it would freak her out, and we'd never get a deal as good as this again. We move in. Things go good, but the ex starts to experience things. Lights turning off by themselves, noises when home. Just little things, and most of them have a practical explanation. Dodgy wiring on the electric, thin walls so we can hear the joining houses. The only weird thing I keep to myself is that there was a horrible stain on the upstairs carpet near the bedroom window when we moved in. I always wondered if that was where the previous owner died and lay potentially undiscovered for a while. I also always had nightmares if I fell asleep facing that way. The child grows up, develops an imaginary friend. Thomas. They play together, have fun, but then Thomas starts to become.
Melody says just doing some time calculations and done. Someone is Duke Me, is Melody. I remember Flu saying he liked to do 12 hours of school service a week. Time calculations 5 times 2 hours equals 10 hours plus 5, 30 minutes, 2.5 hours. Total time 2.5 hours are done per day, 12.5 hours. Comfortably over Floof's threshold. Okay. So 2.5 hours a day. 2.5 hours a day this week. Community service. Das ist, sounds pretty good to me. Oh. Dana! Shut up! Yeah. Yeah, that timesheet sounds pretty alright.
Come in. The child says he hurts her, says mean things, says he's going to hurt me and her mom. One day the child comes downstairs. I ask if it's Thomas. She nods. I ask if she will show me where Thomas is. She nods, takes me into the main bedroom and points to the window, where the stain used to be. Says he's sitting there, under the window. Not long after this, she stops seeing Thomas. We have a new child, but we're still in the same house. Financially, we can't afford to move. The new child is born severely premature and has to sleep in the same room as us for several years. One night she's in bed in our room, starts crying over the monitor. I say I'll check on her. I usually just lie with her until she falls asleep. I go upstairs and she's clearly more distressed than usual. She can talk by this point, so I ask her what's wrong. The man,
Oh
she
shit.
says. The
My
man
OBS went off.
What man? She points to the corner of the room, under the window. That man there. The story that really still sends shivers down my spine is what happened to me when I was 8 young. So one day my dad took me to this car show at a local casino lot. It was a drag race type show with tons of revving engines, so it was loud. Well before the show, my dad took me to the buffet for breakfast and noticed this creepy middle-aged man staring at me. The thing is, my dad only noticed him because he was trying to read what the man's hat said. It had some weird symbol on it. We finished our meal and my dad and I walked to the car show unaware that this man was following us throughout the entire casino. Well, during the show, I was kind of being a brat and my feet hurt, so I
Shite. I think the stream died. Fuck. Oh, Melody says deader than Marjorie Green's Twitter account. Yeah, I heard that. Oh shit, I'm just gonna have to restart the whole thing.